Hey, so I figured that one was short, so I'd read maybe like part two, a few more pages. I hope you enjoy the story, but I don't want to have the episodes or segments so long that it takes up, too much of your time. 'Cause I know you have things to do, but again, I do thank you for tuning in. And I hope you subscribe. And I hope you share this and tell your friends so that they can join in. So I just cleaned my glasses with this little stuff that a friend got from Dollar Tree. Works wonders on the glasses. And that was a small one. I guess it was like $1.25. But she got the really big one for the same price. Oh yeah, now I can see. So, Alan was heading for the Parkway North. The ride was pleasant. It was mostly sunny, a few drifting clouds, and it had gotten a little warmer since the morning. As for me, the drive can sometimes help me to think. It gives me time to think if traffic is late. Today, traffic was very light. I think probably because it was the middle of the week. Before I knew it, I had gotten to my exit, so I pulled over to the right lane so I could exit and throw my dime in the exact change basket of the toll booth. With as many cars that go up and down the road, you think it's been paid for. What does the state do with all the money they're making from all these tolls? I wondered as I threw my dime in. Well, actually, years later, we found out that it is a privately owned highway, not owned by the state. Actually, I was a bit nervous and a bit anxious to see them. You know me. The last night before I arrived in front of the door, I glanced in the mirror to see if I looked fine and checked to see if my mouth and teeth had any remaining food on them. I was cool or able to play it cool by the time I wove my way through the traffic of the city to get to the apartment where they were staying. I pulled up in front of the door and sat there for a few seconds, then took a deep breath before I opened my car door to step out. By the time I walked around in front of the car, Trina opened the apartment building door, so I stepped up onto the curb. She looked like she was happy to see me, but I didn't want to show it, and like she wasn't quite sure how to act. To be honest, I was feeling the same way. I wanted to hug her and give her a kiss, but felt that would have been inappropriate. So after we entered the apartment building, I just bent over after we entered the hallway of the apartment building and gave her a kiss on the cheek. Come on up. He's watching Sesame Street. That's his favorite. Can't get him from in front of the television while that's on. She was saying as we walked towards the steps that would take us to the second floor of the building. It's not polite, but as she led the way up the steps, I had to look at her behind. Lovely it was, and lovely it still is. When we entered the door of the apartment, he wasn't there. But we had to walk into the next room. There he was planted on the floor, paying close attention to what they were doing on Sesame Street. I said, "Hey there, little man." He jumped up into my arms. He looked just like me, except he had green eyes like his mother. We hung out there in the apartment for a while, and I took them out for dinner. Nothing fancy, just Chinese food. Yes, Chinese food it was, of course. Then back to the apartment. I told Trina I was going to leave around 7:30. That way I could get to work early, so I could take a nap, before the shift started. By this time, her mother had come home. She and I were never fond of each other. She didn't like me before she even met me. Well, come to find out, Come to find out, she had a little distaste for most people. Trina insisted I take my nap here in the bedroom that she and the baby slept in. Said she'd be watching television for a while anyway. She pointed to the bedroom door, and I wished she would come in there and lay with me. But hey, at least I was spending time with the both of them. You sure this won't be a problem? I asked her. No, it won't be a problem. No, now go on, Coffee and Cream told me. I better go to the car and get my things I'll need when it's time for me to get ready for work, I said. So I headed for the car. I felt a bit uplifted as I walked out the door. I got my things, then came back inside. Trina was getting Alan ready for bed. She was just coming out of the bathroom carrying him when I went in to sponge off some before I laid down. She had put Alan in his crib when I came into the bedroom. He won't bother you. You know he'll be asleep in 2 or 3 minutes, she said. Oh, he'll be fine. Would it be a bother if you could wake me up, say around 11? I asked Trina. When I walked into the room, he stood up, looking at me and talking. So I took him out the crib and laid him in the bed with me. He was sleepy, but he had some things he had to tell me. Soon he was asleep and I was falling right along with him. By 8 o'clock, both of us were knocked out. I drove back down the parkway. I got to work a little late. Work seemed to pass by pretty quick, probably because I was thinking about the day that had just passed, along with planning what to do and what was coming up soon. I didn't want to hurry things at all, but I had enjoyed my day. Work was actually quiet. Nothing was going on this night. I did my rounds and talked with the guys off and on throughout the night. I was still glad when 7 o'clock came around and it was time to head home. As I walked to my car after saying see you to everybody, I thought about the breakfast that would be waiting for me that Mommy would have cooked. Of course, I tell her and Pop about yesterday. There wasn't much traffic at all going in this direction that I was driving, so I enjoyed looking at the trees and watching out for deer as I listened to the radio as I drove home. Half an hour later, I was pulling up in the driveway. I could see all the blinds and shades were open at the house, which meant I'm up. This was the first thing my parents did when they came downstairs in the morning. So of course, that's what we had learned to do also. I pulled up to my parking space next to my porch and headed for my parents' back door. As I walked into the kitchen, Taz was there, dressed and getting ready for school. Papa was just getting a plate to put the food on that was coming off the stove and out of the oven. After he put the plate near my mom, he returned to his usual place at the kitchen table. Mom was scrambling some eggs while Taz took some cups out the cabinet. I walked over to the counter and filled the cups with hot coffee. Caffeine is supposed to keep people awake, but not me. It doesn't seem to have any effect on keeping me awake or stimulated. So, drinking a cup or two wouldn't stop me from getting my 8 hours of solid sleep. Mommy brought the 2 bowls with the cooked food to the table, one with eggs and the other one with sausage. She left the biscuits on the stove, that way they'd stay warm. She knew each one of us would go back to get a second biscuit. That was a given, because she made the best biscuits, everyone always said. My pop was no slouch either when it came to biscuits. Then again, he could cook just about anything. Over breakfast, we ate, and I told them about my day with Trina and little Alan. So I'm going to stop there for now. But again, I thank you for joining. Please share with your friends. Please subscribe, and I greatly appreciate it. And of course, hit me up. Let me know what's going on in your life, what's on your mind. And peace to you and love.